Good morning. We are now starting the Health and Human Development Committee meeting for March the 7th, and it is 9:04. I'd like to call that meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Present.
Alderwoman Sanye. Chair Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Sanye.
Present.
We have 3 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Could we have approval of the minutes for February the 29th, 2024?
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk?
Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Chair Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Tyus. We have 3 aye votes.
Thank you. So this morning we have a very exciting meeting that's coming before us. I have 2 older people that we're going to kind of change how we're doing things. We're going to let the older people do their bills, and then we're going to allow the nurses and the speakers to speak in regards to SSM, because we feel that that's going to take more time and giving you all opportunity to have your voices heard. And so on that note, the other thing, we did get the last emails that were corrected. And so IT did get that information. So we hope all the speakers were able to get in on the thing. And I'm seeing Miss Wine, she's shaking her head like, yeah, I got the link. So I want to thank her. Thank you all for your patience in working with us. And so on that note, we'll have Alderman Shane Cone to introduce Board Bill 164. Alderman Shane, you're on mute.
I did not mute myself. I'm not sure how that happened. Madam Chair, I actually do have a committee substitute for 164 that I would like to put before the committee. It should be in everyone's drive.
So you want to present that first, correct? You in bad reception, Alderman Shane. I don't know what's going on.
So Board Bill 160.
Now
I tried joining from my computer, but it wasn't loading. Hold on. Is that any better?
Yeah, we can hear you a little better.
Okay. So Board Bill 164 is an update to our domestic partner registry. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if you're able to hear me, but I do intend to submit a committee substitute this morning. It should be in everyone's drive. I'm not a member of the committee, so I can't make any motions.
I make a motion that we bring Board Bill what's your number?
164
committee substitute before us. Second.
Thank you.
So we got you covered, Alderman Shane. So now it's on you.
Thank you. So this updates the domestic partner registry for the city of St. Louis, specifically to keep up a little bit with marriage equality, and in addition, just clean up some of the language with respect to the dissolutions of domestic partnerships as well, and specifically making sure that we're notifying and going through the process of dissolution of a domestic partnership in the event that someone does get married or changes their status. So this was an issue that was brought forward by the registrar's office, and I've been working with the mayor's office and city councilor's office on the language to update the domestic partner registry. And I'm not sure if Madam Registrar was able to attend this morning, but if she is here, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
She is here.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay. Do we need to swear in Ms. Clerk?
We can.
Okay.
Ms. Sims, do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You're on mute.
You're on, let me, go ahead, ma'am. Ms. Sims?
She got off mute. Now her camera's not on. It's the weather. I'm putting it on the weather.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Now, do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Madam Chair and members of the committee, I am Amber Boykin Sims, the City Register. I'm here today to speak in support of Board Bill 164. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and then thank you to Alderperson Cohen for sponsoring this bill. And this needed change was needed due to city employees now being able to apply for the domestic partnership registry as a city employee that lives outside of the city. With that, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Okay. Alderwoman Schweitzer, did you have any questions for the registry?
Thank you. I appreciate you being here, excuse me, and bringing this bill forward, Alderman Cohn. My question is, I don't know a lot about this registry, and I'd love to know more about the details of it and what it means and the benefits it provides. If anyone can answer just kind of a little bit more about what this does and what it is in the city.
Sure. Madam Registrar, do you want to do that, or would you want me to?
You can move forward, Alderman, and I'll answer any questions that may have.
So thank you, Alderwoman. I kind of tend to get lost in the history here sometimes. I was an advocate for domestic partner registries back 20 plus years ago. So sometimes lose track that not everyone is always familiar with these tools that are out there. But domestic partner registries were created largely in the mid 90s to the late early 2000s, when folks who were in domestic partnerships, they shared a domicile, they shared bank accounts, but weren't able to get married, or didn't want to get married, but wanted to be recognized in some form or fashion for not necessarily a civil union, but were essentially sharing household benefits and things of that nature. And so what oftentimes would happen is employers would offer these benefits as well. And when you are in a registered domestic partnership, what ends up happening is your partner, oftentimes underneath employment benefits, is able to register for health and welfare benefits as well, or be the beneficiary of those benefits. What's different, generally speaking, with a domestic partnership is, since it's not necessarily a legalized or recognized legal tax vehicle or things of that nature, you end up having those benefits imputed onto your income statement as well. So it's you're still kind of paying for the benefits in a roundabout way, but essentially you would still qualify or be eligible for the benefit plan. It's a different method in which you would be eligible for those benefits as well. And at the time that many of these were being passed, particularly folks within the LGBTQ community who did not have marriage rights at that point in time, often opted for domestic partner benefits so that they could still be recognized in their relationships, and oftentimes would help. These arrangements would help with things not just along the lines of health and welfare benefits through employers, but also with financial implications as well.
Thank you for that background. That helped me understand like why it's so important to update it now and to make sure that the all city employees can still use this and that there's a clear process. It looks like this works to put a clearer process for resolving that domestic partnership. Is that correct?
It does. Also, a fun fact, back in the day, there were actually more hetero couples who applied for domestic partnerships than LGBTQ couples at one point in time, because there was for lack of a better term, a market for folks who had been living together for many, many years that just never took the step to get married for whatever reason. And oftentimes, those were also folks that were in heterosexual relationships, not just same-sex or queer relationships.
Sure, I can totally see that. So,
some additional information, Alderwoman, too, is we started our domestic partnership registry in 1998. And then at that time was $1. In 2003, we increased the price to $10. And when I became registered beginning in May of 2021, I increased the price to $48 to mirror what a marriage license is for the city of St. Louis. And we were one of the only cities and municipalities throughout the state that had domestic partnership. Now others have followed our lead, and we have, Columbia and Clayton and other municipalities that surround us that also have a domestic partnership registry. But I would say that, our city took the lead, and it utilized, and we get calls all the time to be a part of our registry. And that gives me the opportunity to invite them to move to the city of St. Louis, become a resident of our wonderful city, or become employed with the city of St. Louis. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that background and history. And I appreciate that. And I look forward to supporting the bill.
Thank you. Alderwoman Saunier, did you have any questions?
I was just curious. Well, first of all, thank you, Alderman Cone, for your work on this bill. I'm glad to see it progress and happen, and I'm sure this time, I'm curious about how it went the first time that you tried to pass it. Were people resistant? Like, what was the political climate for it? And then just wondering how many people we have that would be impacted by this, if we have any of that available.
So as the registrar mentioned, we first passed this back in the 90s. I was still in high school back when it passed, so I wasn't involved in the actual, debates down here at the Board of Aldermen. But as a kind of activist community member within the LGBTQ community, when I came of age, I was certainly involved in these discussions and, activism outside of government to try and get these things passed in various municipalities in the state through organizations like Promo, which is still alive and active and dealing with a whole plethora of other issues in today's climate. But these were pretty hefty lifts back in the 1990s, in particular when the city passed ours. As the register mentioned, the city was the first one in the state of Missouri to pass a domestic partner registry. And that was really touted, particularly within the LGBTQ community, as something that signified that the city, one, recognized them as couples and individuals, and also validated them and provided a benefit to them if they were a resident in the city of St. Louis, or, as the register mentioned, an employee of the city. And then in terms of how many people are impacted, I don't have my notes in front of me, and I know the registrar actually provided me with some numbers last week, but I don't have those readily available. Madam Registrar, are you
I
able
have,
to?
at this point, we have about 932 active applications that's on the registry. And since its inception, we've had about 173 that have terminated their domestic partnership, either because they've moved out of the city, they have gotten married to their domestic partner, or they have passed away.
Thank you.
And then if memory serves me, Madam Registrar, I think you said that there's roughly like 30 to 60 couples per year that want to apply.
Yes, we have about, as you stated, between 30 and 60 applicants that apply for our registry yearly, and that did not change when we increased the price as well. So it's popular, it's needed, it's wanted, and as I stated, we get calls all day, every day from others around this state wanting to be a part of our domestic partnership registry. And as I stated, that gives me an opportunity to come be a part of our great city. So
Thank you. I have no further questions. Madam Clerk, will you add me as co-sponsor?
Noted.
Okay, Alderman Balmer, I know you came in late. Did you have any questions or just listening?
No, no questions, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. Sorry, I had a little delay this morning, but thank you.
Thank you. I don't have a question. I just have a comment, I guess. And Alderman Cone knows where my mindset is. I guess it's interesting that I'm hearing about this, and I just think it's the best kept secret.
it
Because
is.
a lot of people don't even know this exists.
Exactly.
And so back in the 60s and 70s, it was a lot of people that just lived together. And like Alderman Cone said, for whatever reason, they didn't get married. And I think if they had known about this, this would have helped them in their relationships. So I'm glad we're taking it to the next step. And I just want to make sure that the people in the city as a whole understand and know about this bill so they can, utilize it. And I'm sorry to do this to the registry, but she'll probably get hit harder once people figure out, oh, this is what we can do with this. So I applaud you, Alderman Cone, for taking the next step, but I just think we just need to improve how information is ciphered out into our city.
Well, thank you for that, Alderwoman Boyd. Just wanted to provide this information since I've been in this position and I swear in new employees. It's been my goal and my practice that I inform every city employee about our domestic partnership when I swear them in and provide them with the information and the knowledge. I also have asked the Department of Personnel to include that in their presentation when they're onboarding new employees as well. And so that has been happening under my leadership since I've been in this position. And it is great to see the city employee that's coming on board realize what a great opportunity this is for them, because they not only get to participate in the health benefits, but they also can participate if their domestic partner is in a city hospital or in a city-owned facility. So, i.e. meaning our jail facility. So this has been something I've been passionate about. I give them information. And with the new onboarding process that we have now with the Department of Personnel, every other Monday, I swear in approximately 25 to 35 new employees, and they're provided that information about this domestic partnership registry directly from me, and then also with the Department of Personnel. So that is happening, and every chance that I get, I also, as I say, make sure everyone I come in contact with knows that this is available here in the city of St. Louis and what a great benefit it is.
Thank you. Okay, on that note, does anyone else have any questions? Okay, so could we get a motion to accept the amendment?
A
Aye.
motion to adopt the committee substitute to Board Bill number 164.
Second,
Oh,
Could we get a roll call, please?
Alderman Varmer. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
aye.
Alderwoman Sanye.
You're on mute.
aye.
Chair Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Varmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. We have 4 aye votes.
Okay, with that, the amendment has passed, and so now we'll hear Alderman.
Excuse me,
It's the committee
Madam Chair.
substitute.
Yeah,
We adopted the committee substitute, but I
Substitute.
believe we still need a motion to pass it out of committee.
Yes,
So if it's all right with you, I would move to pass Board Bill number 164
Oh.
committee substitute.
Point of order.
Yes,
like I was,
Well, I can't really make a point of order because I'm not on the committee, but I do have just some closing remarks.
okay, all right.
So I just again want to one, thank you all for your favorable consideration on the committee substitute. But want to echo my appreciation to the registrar for all of her hard work around this, and her obvious passion around this issue as well. It warms my heart and soul to know that we have people like her in city government that are looking out for these types of things, and uplifting our community and also our city employees as well. And so want to express my heartfelt gratitude to her for being here this morning and for all of her work, and also to the administration and city councilor's office for working with me on the committee substitute and in the bill itself. So with that, I close and ask for your favorable consideration on Board Bill 164 committee substitute.
Okay, now we're ready.
yes.
Okay,
I-
go ahead.
I move to pass Board Bill number 164 committee substitute out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second,
Previous roll.
All right. Now we're ready for your Bill 164, correct?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, all right. I want to make sure I'm on point. My vice chair is not pointing at me, so I must be doing pretty good here.
Thank you, everyone, and I look forward to working with all of you on any other bills that we have coming before. We're very active in the registrar's office, and now I'm off to our training for records retention. So thank you again, and have a blessed day, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Board Bill 223, introduced by Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer. Madam Clerk, could you please introduce the bill?
Board Bill number 223, introduced by Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer. An ordinance prohibiting an owner of a residential dwelling unit from obtaining a certificate of inspection if mold is present in an amount deemed hazardous by the building division, empowering the building division to inspect residential buildings for mold, providing for notice protocols to owners of units where mold is found, requiring owners to remediate mold, imposing penalties for violating these ordinances, and containing a severability clause.
Thank you. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. As the clerk read, Board Bill 223 is regarding mold safety. I do have a presentation to share, so I will share my screen now. Okay, I think everyone should be able to see it.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So today I just have an informational presentation on Board Bill 223. I do not plan on asking for a vote today because the bill does still need a little bit of work. So I wanted to just give you an overview of the bill, what's in the bill, and tell you what the next steps are on my end to move this bill to be ready for your vote and consideration. So what this does, as the clerk read, is it prohibits the owner of a building from receiving a certificate of inspection if there's mold present and hazardous amounts in the building. There is precedence for this within our code. It does say that buildings need to be maintained in a safe and sound condition. What this bill is doing is adding a specific inspection for mold, which is not currently part of the operations, although does fall under a building being in safe and sound condition. So in section 1, definitions, it describes what mold is, how and what mold remediation would mean. Section 2 regards the processes that the building division would be following in order to deem whether or not the building has mold and hazardous level. It does empower the building inspector to complete this mold inspection, and it does allow in the bill for the building division to be setting up the processes and procedures for how this inspection and how they would deem it hazardous. So this gives a little bit more about the process for noticing the owner of the presence of mold in section 4 and what that notice has to include and what the next steps would be for the owner of the building. And then the process of working with the building division on that process. This does, as you'll note, follow many processes that we follow in the city now for any code violations that a building owner may have on their property. So this is about, in section 5, the notification of mold presence remediation to the tenant so that it makes sure that they have to notify this occupant. It doesn't go into any further about what their responsibility is to that occupant, but the occupant does need to at least be notified. This then goes through the process of what they need to do if the owner finds mold and remediating that mold, and then also how the tenants would report it. I don't know about other aldermen on this call, but I've certainly gotten numerous emails and calls from folks who have mold in their apartments or suspect there's mold, and there's not anything on Citizen Service Bureau for mold specifically for making that report. Of course, there's interior violations that could be done if a resident does make a report on their building that there's interior code violations. However, because mold is not laid out within that bill, within the code, even though it does violate safe and sound conditions as a standard, it's not something the building division is citing for. So those of you on our budget committee may remember when I asked the building division what they do with mold and asked the health department what they do with mold, they both kind of pointed at the other entities, saying that they were more responsible. I see Alderwoman Boyd, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing this. I guess and I'm in agreement because we do get calls for mold. And I think one challenge the building inspectors have, the people won't let them in those buildings. So that's one issue. But the other issue is they're moving people in without acquiring occupancy permits. So, and the only way we find out if somebody calls us or a resident calls, and then we find out somebody has moved in the property. So I'm interested, I'm curious because you did bring it up in budget hearings about health and building in regards to the mold. And I think these departments need to take this very seriously because I don't think people realize the impact mold has on you physically. I worked at a job and I kept getting sick and they couldn't understand why I kept getting sick. I kept getting bronchial infections. And then finally, the doctor said, "Is it mold in your office?" And when they looked in the office, the little short room, the storage room, the whole walls were just black mold in there. And so I was off for like 6 months until they had to clear that. So I just don't think we are putting it at a high urgency that we should, because that's a silent killer in our communities and people aren't aware of it. So thank you for, doing the research and pushing this.
Well, I appreciate your testimony because that is exactly why it matters so much that mold is part of an inspection and then it's part of something that people can report and the city can do something because, as you know from your time as an alder person, when someone reaches out to you saying that they have mold in their unit, there is not necessarily a city avenue to pursue there. We don't have it in our normal reviews for code. The health department and the building division kind of think the other one currently does it now. So what we can do really is often refer the tenant to a landlord clinic of some sort, or a tenant landlord law clinic of some sort, or our city defenders or legal services of Eastern Missouri, who might have a little bit more ability to help them. But laying it out within the code and within the inspection process, I think gives the city a little bit more opportunity to do work around this. So this goes forward about the violation protocols and the building division's rules and policies, saying that they would be the ones setting up the enforcement and the administration of the ordinance. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning of the bill presentation, this is certainly not finished. I'm still gathering feedback from tenants, the building division, the health department, experts in mold remediation, landlords. I appreciate having your input, Alderwoman Boyd or Chairwoman Boyd already, and I appreciate any other input from the committee or the board. And still, we have a draft of the fiscal note. Thank you so much to Ryan Coleman for putting that together. I want to get a little bit more into the details of what the expected practices and processes are before knowing, just for myself to know a little bit more about what that could look like in the fiscal capacity. There's certainly a lot of things that building inspectors would need to know to be able to identify mold, and then also a process that would need to be set up to, is it on the city to test that it is mold, or is it on the owner? Is it just so a little bit more of that. I think we need some conversations about what the building division can do with the current inspectors that are available to the building division, as well as what our city councilor can do with the number of city councilors that are there, because if there do need to be efforts from the city around, legal actions around property owners not following this, as there are for other sorts of code violations that would add to their plate. So there's just a little bit more to do to make sure I feel this bill is ready for your vote. And I appreciate you all taking the time to let me present this idea and to you today. And thanks especially to the president of the board's office for putting this together, and my legislative assistant, Christian Bishop, for doing so much work on it as well.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Alderman Balmer? Alderwoman Saulnier?
No questions, just I think this is an excellent bill, Alderwoman Schweitzer. I'm glad you bring it forward. I will echo what Alderwoman Boyd said about just the health risks that mold has in many places. And thank you for doing the work to make sure we engage our departments and figure out how we can have some type of enforcement around this.
Okay. All right. Well, anything else, Alderwoman Schweitzer?
That's it for today. I would hope that we could have, I will likely ask for a hearing either the week we get back from our brief spring break, or the week after, if that's all right with you, Madam Chair. And I appreciate the time you took to hear this bill today.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, next we have Alderwoman Alicia Saulnier, Board Bill 226. Madam Clerk, would you read the introduction, please?
Board Bill number 226, introduced by Alderwoman Alicia Saulnier, an ordinance also known as the Safe Temperatures in Rentals, that provides a temperature performance standard to protect the health and safety of tenants from extreme temperatures, containing an enforcement provision, providing for penalties, containing a severability clause, and including an effective date.
Hey, Alderwoman Saulnier, you're on.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is my first time doing a presentation virtually, so I'm going to try to share my screen here.
Didn't work. State Sheriff?
Let me see, do you want me to see if I can share it?
Okay,
Let's
yes.
see let's see. Hold on.
There you go.
Okay, yay. Okay, so Safe Temperatures and Rentals Act, I think is pretty much self-explanatory, the name of the bill. I just have a super brief presentation just to kind of go through some of the main points and make the intention of the bill clear. Next slide, please.
Do you see it?
It's not coming up, but you know what? I will pull it up on my end so that
There it is.
Okay,
Is that it? Key components?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the first major components of this bill is just to remember this is about maintaining safe temperatures. And there's already some ordinance on our books that talk about the importance of rental units supplying adequate heating in the cold temperature months. And so this kind of complements that. This bill does add the definition of a cooling system as well as temperature sensors, and incorporates the definition for owners and rental dwelling unit that aligns with other legislation that we have pending. And then the cold weather months that are identified in the bill are originally were June 1st to September 30th, but I actually have an amendment that proposes that we move it to May 1st. We were just having some conversations with the builder division about, with global warming, like when does it really get cold? Because it's not as, consistent as it used to be. So we want to make sure that we captured all those months. And it just pretty much says that a rental unit must be able to maintain a temperature between 68 degrees and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And if an owner provides a cooling system, it must be able to cool a room at 85 degrees or below. Some other things that I would point out is that the bill does not specify how an owner might do it. So we're not requiring that you have like a central cooling unit or like whatever your method is. We're essentially just saying that you need to be able to have at least one space within a rental unit that is habitable outside the bathroom that can be kept at this safe temperature of 68 degrees and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. I do have an amendment, Madam Chair. I don't know if you'd like me to do the amendment now before I take questions or do it after we take questions.
Okay, so we kind of did it backwards. I didn't know you had an amendment. So let's present your amendment first, and then we'll go through the amendment. And then after we vote on the amendment, then we'll talk about your bill. And I have to lean to my vice chair. Am I on point, sir?
You're fine, dear. You're fine.
All right, thank you. So that's what we do. So present your amendment.
Excellent. So the amendment 1 that is in the drive for you all, I can email it again if you don't have it, but it's actually really simple. So we would be striking out June and putting it in May so that we can capture all the cold weather months. And then we also added some language that specifies that this is the expectation for at least one room in a unit.
I'm sorry, so do you want to take a first and a second on putting the amendment before us?
Yes,
Right.
I make a
Yeah,
motion.
and also,
Yeah,
and if I may interrupt, legally, we were supposed to have the amendment in front of us, whether it's on email. So we have to have, is not just an oral description of the email of the amendment, but we do have to have an amendment before us legally.
Right, I don't have the amendment.
It is in the drive, but I can email it to you all as well if that makes it easier.
It's just for legal purposes to make sure that there's nothing to come back here to.
Because I have it. I got it.
Okay.
It's in the drive. I saw it. Did everybody else
No,
get it?
I have it. What she said, some people look like they didn't have it, so I want to make sure.
Right.
I
this-
have it. Is it listed as 2 amendments or 1 amendment?
I think it's just one amendment, but it has 2 changes in the 1 amendment.
It's only one amendment. It's in the Google Drive under
Right.
board bills.
Yeah, the lines are really close to each other, so that's fine. Okay.
Board Bill 226 amended. That's what I had. 3A. Is that the one, page 3?
Yes.
So I
Okay.
move to place amendment number 1 to Board Bill 226 in front of us.
Second,
Previous roll.
objection because I'm not on the previous roll.
No, you just voted on the last.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was That was two previous roles before. Thank you. I remove my objection. I'm still drinking coffee.
That's okay. All right, now you're ready to go, Alderwoman Soye. We're gonna get this. This is gonna be the greatest committee.
Yes, so this amendment, again, it's just very simple. We just wanted to make sure we encapsulate, kind of expand even earlier than June in case it may get a little bit colder during the May months, as we may see this year. And then just wanted to add in some language after conversations with the Housing Solution Group and STO Realtors. Just want to make it clear that the expectation is that there is at least one room that is able to be kept at a certain temperature. You know, we had conversations about different units being designed differently and sometimes not having consistent temperatures throughout. And so just wanted to make the intention clear that the aim of this bill is to make it so that at least one room in the unit outside the bathroom is able to be at this temperature so that a resident is able to have one space within their home where they can have safe temperatures.
Okay. Does anyone have questions? Alderman Balmer?
No questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Spicer?
No questions, thanks.
I see, Mr. Sweeney, you had a question. You had your hand up. You're on mute.
I'm just here to testify when you get to that point. I just wanted to let you know
Okay.
that. Since there was-
Okay, so I don't have a question, I just have a comment. And so I love it, you know, that we're coming in with these regulations and these rules. And so I think we need to always take in consideration that staffing is such a challenge in our city to enforce these rules. And so that's another challenge that we have in regards to building division. And so they're strapped in regards to inspectors and trying to get things done. And so I guess my question to the sponsor is, you know, we're trying to regulate the temperatures of how, I guess, homes, rental and purchase homes. Am I correct? Or just rental homes?
I mean, I imagine that it'll mainly be rentals because of the way our inspections work, but it could apply to any unit. But, you know, obviously, if you own your home, then you are the one responsible for making sure that your temperatures are maintained.
And so that's my concern because we're getting interesting characters as landlords. And so our focus is the health of the people that are renting these properties. And so I'm just trying to figure out how we would look at to ensure that these rental properties are where they need to be for people to be in safe environments. Like Alderwoman Schweitzer talked about the mold, and now you're talking about the temperature. And so those are natural health things that we should be really looking at, and they should be high priority. But I guess if we could just really start thinking how we can empower the building division even more to be able to enforce these, because as I told Alderwoman Schweitzer, most of these landlords won't even let the inspectors in those buildings. And so they're already condemned for occupancy. But we still have the problem there that the people are living in inhumane conditions in those properties. So I just want people to think seriously when they do this, to make sure that I say have enough fight in there that can arm our inspectors so they can do their job to ensure our residents are in safe environments.
No, I completely agree with you, Alderwoman Boyd. I think, you know, there's a different piece of legislation that works. There's a part of our city that our building inspectors can't even get into because they're not under the housing conservation program. But I think for this bill, what we talked about as far as implementation wise is it would become a part of regular inspections when they first go out, but also they would be able to do a complaint through CSB, a resident, if possible, that would then enable the building division to come out and check the temperature. They have a professional like electronic temperature reading device that they would use, but a lot of it would be relying upon complaints. We definitely need to work with enforcement. So I look forward on budget to making sure we support our building division however they may need to. But I definitely share your concerns about some of our residents not having it. I think particularly I get a lot of senior citizens who reach out to me when we get into our hotter and our colder times about their the temperature of their units not being habitable. So I at least look forward to hopefully being able to eventually point them in direction of being able to go to CSB and make a complaint and being able to hold the property owner accountable in that way. And then I will also just add that this bill, the penalties don't go into effect until July of 2025, in hopes that the building division will be a little bit more settled with having a new director, with having hopefully a new technology fund established, and be in a better place to kind of do some of these expectations that we are putting into many of the policies we're passing.
Okay, thank you. So does anybody else have anything? Because I was gonna let Mr. Sweeney speak.
And I think there's other testifiers too.
Okay, so who else? Because I only see Mr. Sweeney. Is there somebody else you had, Alderwoman Sonia?
There are 4 folks with their hands up, or 3 folks now, and I think the clerk is moving some of them over now.
Okay, because I was like, I just see one person. So when they move those over, we can swear them in so they can do their testimony. I'm seeing, okay, all right, I see 1. Dave Sweeney, it's 2, 3. Okay, 4. So all of us are here that are going to testify, correct? Okay, so Madam Clerk, would you please swear them all in?
Okay. Everyone is here. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about, can you please raise your right hand for me? Thank you. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All righty. Mr. Sweeney, you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Dave Sweeney. I am an attorney at Lewis Rice downtown. I am here on behalf of the St. Louis Realtors Association, and I'm excited to be here to testify in support of this bill. The association, and I think I can speak for Housing Solution, although I don't represent them, appreciate the sponsors' time to meet and work through this and to come up with a solution that we're happy to support. So I'm just here to speak in favor of it. And as a total aside, I just want to, as a board member of Heat Up St. Louis and Cool Down St. Louis, I would be remiss not to put in a plug for them, not necessarily for landlords, but for residents, for air conditioners and heat and help with utilities. So kind of a two-folder.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Gretchen. Well, let me back up. So we have a Sarah W. Were you on, Miss Sarah, when they did the swearing in?
Good morning. Yes, I was.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to miss anybody. So Gretchen, you're next.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Gretchen Waddell Barwick. I'm the chapter director of the Missouri Sierra Club. We're an environmental advocacy organization, and our mission is to explore, enjoy, and protect the planet. The greatest threat to our planet is climate change. So I'm really glad to be here to support Board Bill 226, which would make our city more resilient in the face of the impacts of climate change. As a St. Louis City resident in Franz Park, my house is 100 years old, and in the summer, it can get really uncomfortably warm. We're really lucky that we have a functioning air conditioning unit, but we also have 2 window units for when it gets really, really warm outside, to support some sort of terrible ductwork and an older, less efficient AC system. We're also really privileged to be able to pay the costs associated with those systems, and not everybody is in the city of St. Louis. But it's also necessary because my husband has a thyroid disorder, and that impacts his ability to regulate his temperature, and he can overheat really quickly. I cannot express the fear that I felt one time when I came home and he was laying on the floor because he had passed out from doing yard work. He said he didn't hit his head very hard. It was not a good day for us. So this is something that really does impact a lot of people in our city, and it can be incredibly dangerous. For residents that can't make changes to their homes, like renters, the increasing heat and longer lasting summers can be deadly. So as the Missouri chapter director of the Sierra Club, I know that excessive heat is becoming more and more of an issue and is an environmental justice issue. Deaths from excessive heat are significantly higher for my Black and brown neighbors than for my white neighbors. This is unconscionable and unacceptable. We need building owners and landlords to be responsible to their tenants because everyone deserves a safe place to live. We also know that energy burden, the percent of your income you pay for energy, is significantly higher for people of color in the city of St. Louis. The St. Louis Environmental Racism Report found that energy burden for Black households was significantly higher than the median St. Louis household for renters, regardless of race, and for Black households. I'm grateful for Alderwoman Saunier for introducing this bill, and Sierra Club is proud to support it. But we also need the City of St. Louis and the Board of Aldermen to advocate outside these halls for climate justice and demand real changes from those causing harm. In this case, Ameren's continued use of fossil fuels, which drive climate change. In summation, this bill is a fantastic step in the right direction. It's a wonderful way to support those most at risk in our city. I encourage you all to vote yes, and I look forward to partnering with the City of St. Louis as we work together to be a more resilient city for our collective future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Boyd, I'm
Uh-huh.
sorry. I wanted to make note that we are giving them 3 minutes to speak. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and there is a Miss Kelly Allen that just came on. I didn't see her in the beginning when we swore everybody in.
Okay, and so we'll, Miss Allen, we'll swear you in.
Before we do that, 3 of my colleagues are also waiting. We're from SLU Hospital. We're 4 nurses that were here to give testimony this morning
So you're giving it for SSM?
Yes.
for the nurses.
Yeah, so that's a total different. So
Right.
look, Miss Kelly, we'll get you on the next group. So now
Okay. Okay.
we get this group on this one.
Okay. No problem. I'm just new to this process.
That's okay, you're fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Miss Nicole, you're next. You have 3 minutes.
Miss Nicole, could you state your last name for me?
It's Switalski.
Could you spell it for me?
SWITALSKI.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm Nicole Switalski, a senior at St. Louis University, and I'm also an intern for the Missouri Sierra Club. I am a resident of St. Louis in the 11th Ward, and I'm testifying in favor of this Bill 226 to enact safe temperature regulations in rentals in St. Louis City. As an individual with an invisible disability, I know what it is like to be extremely sensitive to my environment. And one minute I may be outside feeling fine, and the next I feel faint and need to go inside and cool down. This experience can be shared by many people on certain medications or especially with cardiovascular conditions, especially those living in urban areas where there's minimal airflow and increased temperatures. Everyone deserves to live in a comfortable environment that meets their basic needs of survival. Living without air conditioning can be deadly. Studies have shown that during extreme heat events, even just 2 hours in air conditioning can prevent heat-related illness. As a young person, extreme heat events make me extremely concerned for my elderly neighbors, especially as I have seen global warming occur in real time. I have grown up seeing the need for immediate changes which will be necessary for public health amidst the impacts of climate change. This bill is extremely necessary to save lives, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Madam Chair, I think there's some people that were here to speak in favor of Board Bill 223 as well, Alderwoman Schweitzer's bill, and I didn't know if you wanted them to wait and just only comment on 226, or if they could go ahead and talk about both.
You can only talk about the bill that's before us. Pardon me for interrupting.
Okay.
I was talking and nobody heard me, but my vice chair had my back, so yeah.
Your voice just got deeper is all that happened.
Okay, so who is next? Who do we have next, Madam Clerk? Is Miss Sarah the
Miss
next?
Sarah,
Okay.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sarah Watkins. I'm testifying in support of Board Bill 226. I'm a tenant and a housing advocate in St. Louis City, and I think we desperately need to increase tenant protections and ensure that tenants and families have access to safe and healthy housing and to effectively combat the housing crisis in St. Louis. We know that Black and Brown St. Louis's are most likely to be renters as a result of racist and discriminatory housing policies. People of color, specifically Black women-led households, are the most impacted by housing insecurities, and that heavily impacts their quality of mental and physical health. The lack of protection from extreme temperatures are often and mold are often symptoms of deeper conditions, issues, and negligent practices of landlords. In 2018, I spent a month in a unit with major plumbing issues as well as heating and cooling. I had 2 small units that were not adequate enough to cool the unit, so much that I had to bring my son into the living room in order for him to be cool. The house maintained an over 85-degree temperature as this situation continued the entire month of August 2018, and it was only resolved when maintenance was sent to fix the major plumbing issues, and they complained that the apartment was too hot for them to work, and that is the only reason why they decided to help me and my son. I was threatened with cease and desist letters. I had the police called on me. I was given the runaround, and it was clear that my landlord had no intention on building the community or making my safe space. And so I think that low income and working class families deserve to live in decent housing without mold, bugs, and other dangerous issues. And the city and the building division need to practice more oversight and accountability in order to defend tenants from the impacts of environmental racism and correct the harm that is caused by negligent landlords. And so I urge the committee to consider this bill and pass it towards the full Board of Aldermen for consideration. Thank you. Oh, and if I have more time left, I also wanted to mention that I think that this bill should cover all rooms in the house should be maintained at safe temps. One room is not just enough. If you have multiple children, if you have pets, if you're trying to move around, you should have access to more rooms. It should be all rooms. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else? Thank you, Ms. Sarah. On Board Bill 26.
I have one person who just came in.
Is it?
I'm not sure if he's speaking on Board Bill 26.
It might be for the nurses. So, okay. So, Ms. Alderwoman Sonia, do you know if you have anybody else that's coming in?
I think that might be everyone.
I actually have a comment I want to make in favor of the bill as well.
Okay.
So who is this?
Is this Michael? Who's speaking?
Bernard.
So it is Kennard or Michael James? Who's talking?
That was Bernard who was just speaking.
Okay, that was Kennard. Okay, we'll have to swear him in.
Mr. Kennard, could you please raise your right hand? Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you please state your last name and spell it for me, please?
Williams, Williams.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Okay, yeah. My name's Kennard Williams. I'm the organizing manager at Action St. Louis. We hold the We the Tenants campaign with Arch City Defenders. We work with a lot of tenants across the city and a bunch of different housing units across the city. Do want to come here and express my support for this bill and the need for this one and the mold bill as well. Both are some of the highest rating issues that tenants in the city deal with. You've heard a lot of people here speak to the need for air conditioning and temperature regulation in units. I'm here to tell you that is definitely the case. We have a lot of younger children who live in a lot of these units. A lot of people who have health issues, constantly plagued by this whenever it gets warm outside, as it's getting warmer earlier and longer. A lot of people are consistently dealing with this issue and having a lot of problems with getting any sort of abatement to the temperatures in their units because there's not much space for tenant rights in St. Louis right now. So yeah, I want to come speak to the support of this legislation. Also, as my colleague Sarah just said, the need for this legislation to apply in all the rooms, just because people move around. Some, like if it's 85 degrees in the kitchen, people can't necessarily sleep in the kitchen. We need to have this temperature regulation across the entire unit. That's where people are paying their rent for the entire unit. So they should expect to have regulated temperatures across their entire unit. I also want to say that we appreciate seeing this sort of legislation move up. We want to see this keep coming with renter rights regulations. As I've heard Alderwoman Boyd speak to the quality of who's becoming landlords, we have a lot of LLCs out there, a lot of LLCs from out of the area that don't really care about people who live in the city and are residents in the city. So that's all the more reason that we need more legislation like this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so do you have anyone else, Alderwoman Sonia?
No, I believe that's all.
Okay, and so the committee, Alderman Balmer, did you have anything you wanted to speak on or questions?
No questions. The fact that they're allowing time for this to be, for our building division to catch up and enforce this is natural. That's our process, and I believe it's a good bill. I wish it could be for forcing them to do the entire residence, but I don't know if that's possible. I guess one step at a time is how we have to take these things and get this in there and maybe move forward with progressing and trying to move it forward without trying to sneak it in there and beat the resistance. Get one while we can, and we'll make some more when we can.
Thank you. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this bill and look forward to supporting it. It's one that is just so important, especially as the commenters, people who are here said about climate change, about the need for folks to be able to safely have a place to live. I think this comes back to the safe and sound section of our code, and that certainly being able to exist at safe temperatures is part of what makes us safe as human beings existing in the world. So thank you so much for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Alderwoman Schweitzer, like I told Alderwoman Sonia, like I told Alderwoman Schweitzer, I have to get the S's together. I support wholeheartedly both of these bills. I just think, as Alderwoman Sonia stated, I want to say she stated in regards to budget, we probably need to revisit the building division. And I think we need to look at a city as a whole. We do not have the population. And so we need to look at the staffing that we have and see how we need to adjust it to accommodate issues to support the ordinance that we're doing and make sure our residents are in a safe environment. This committee is a very powerful committee because it focuses on the overall health of our community. And so we cannot continuously keep putting Band-Aids on this. The landlords that we are dealing with now are not the normal landlords we had before that really cared about the properties that they were invested in. So we have to really make sure our laws are strong and hold people accountable for the safety of our community. So thank you, Alderwoman Sonia. Would you like to close on your bill?
Yes, I would like to close, and I actually was planning on taking a vote today, if you're okay with that, Madam Chair.
That's fine. I'm fine. So we're looking to get a motion to move Board Bill 223 out of the Health Committee.
I move to pass Board Bill 226 as amended with the do pass recommendation.
Second.
Okay.
Previous roll.
Okay. All right. Congratulations, Alderwoman Sonia. Your bill has passed.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So Alderwoman Schweitzer, you said you had somebody that wanted
Thank
to.
you. Thank you so much, Madam Chairwoman. I apologize to those who are here to speak on Board Bill 223. That is an oversight on my part, not knowing you were here to speak on that. And I want to make sure that you are able to do so. And Madam Chair is kind enough to recognize me on that bill again, because it did not pass out of committee. It's still in our committee. We can still talk about it. So with that, Madam Chair, I have nothing more to say. If there's anyone, if you're welcoming public comment on 223, I'd like to move to that now.
So I see two hands up, Linda and a Samsung.
Linda is not accepting. She declined a while ago.
Okay.
Gretchen Waddell has already spoken.
Okay.
Not
And
on this bill.
okay, she's speaking on your bill as well.
If she wants to, she could.
Okay.
So Gretchen, did you want to speak on And I see Sarah's hands up. Gretchen, did you want to speak on Board Bill 223? I don't see Gretchen.
Okay, so some of the same people are speaking on speaking on both bills, I see, correct?
Is that what's going on?
Looks like it.
Okay, so we have Gretchen and Sarah that want to speak on Board Bill 226, correct? Or no,
I'm speaking on
223.
223.
Yeah, okay, I'm trying to get back on track. So now we have Gretchen and Sarah, Nicole and Marcel speaking on Board Bill 223, correct? Okay, and so you each have 3 minutes. Was everyone sworn in? Was Marcel sworn in?
No,
Okay, so Marcel, you need to be sworn in. Nicole, were you sworn in?
so we'll just swear them all in again if you want, because they're speaking on a different bill. So if you can all raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that I'm sorry, Miss Sarah, thank you. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I can't hear you.
I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's let Mr. Marcel go because I don't think he spoke last time. Nicole, did you speak last time? You did. So Marcel, you can go because you didn't speak. So you're on 3 minutes.
All right, thank you very much. To Madam Chair and the Health and Human Development Committee. My name is Marcel Hagens, Policy Coordinator, Action St. Louis, and a longtime resident of the 10th Ward. I'm here today to testify in favor of Board Bill 223. As you may be aware, Action St. Louis has been working to champion the needs of tenants in the city of St. Louis. We the Tenants, a tenant-led campaign that's supported by Action and our partners at Arch City Defenders, was built out of a climate in 2021 that saw many of us experiencing eviction, harassment, and countless predatory actions taken by landlords and property managers. As the campaign began to take form, we at Action felt it necessary to begin compiling all of those stories and complaints that we would receive during our monthly convenings. This morphed into a housing survey that specifically inquired about the tenants' experience in the city of St. Louis. This survey, which will release as a part of a larger housing report, expressed concerns relating to living conditions and evictions. I would like to take a second to highlight a disturbing data point from that survey that led to my testifying here today. Of all the surveys that we collected, the third highest complaint expressed by renters when they are asked about their living conditions was the prevalence of excessive mold in their units. Many of those respondents were still residing in those units at the time they were giving the survey, and many continue to still live in those residences. As outlined in the bill, mold has the potential to exacerbate chronic illnesses such as asthma, but many of those we surveyed were made the choice to stay in those homes because there wasn't an affordable housing option available to them that didn't expose them to substandard living conditions. With that, and the fact that St. Louis currently doesn't have any regulations surrounding excessive mold, residents were forced to choose between unsafe living conditions or houselessness. With the introduction of the Mold Safety Act, this language seeks to take a major step in the right direction to make housing safe for all residents and not just those who can afford it. With that being said, I urge the committee to vote yes on Board Bill 223. Thank you, and you all have a good day.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marcel. Ms. Nicole.
All right, good morning again. So again, I'm Nicole Switolski, a senior at St. Louis University and an intern for the Sierra Club. I am a St. Louis resident in the 11th Ward, and I'm testifying in favor of Bill 223 to enact regulations on residential mold. In my opinion, this bill is a common sense regulation that should be enacted for the safety of every resident. There is a distinct relationship between mold and health complications that can be prevented. As a resident advisor at St. Louis University, I have seen firsthand the issues that mold causes and how many residents have been hospitalized for mold complications. Many residents express that they have continuous health issues when living in the dorms with mold, and these health issues disappear when they go home for breaks and then return when they come back after breaks. I don't know if this bill applies to residence halls, but at least I've seen firsthand the issues and how many people it can affect and how quickly mold can take a toll on the body. Establishing this regulation would ensure that landlords are held accountable to keep their properties clean and safe for residents, thus keeping properties maintained and eligible for occupancy longer. This bill would require landlords to keep the property safe after inspection, thus reducing the number of tenant-landlord issues that arise, saving everyone time and money. This bill is necessary for the city of St. Louis, and I believe you should vote in favor of this regulation. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Sarah?
Hi, good morning. I wanted to share a testimony from our coalition coordinator at Homes for All St. Louis. Hello, this is behalf of Christian Blackman, coalition coordinator for Homes for All St. Louis, a Black-led grassroots housing justice organization that works with and supports tenants across the city of St. Louis, and she is a resident of the 6th Ward. Speaking in favor of Board Bill 223, this ordinance is a step in the right direction to further protect tenants and to hold owners and landlords accountable to keeping their properties in good standing for their tenants. Mold is an ongoing issue for many tenants, and there has yet to be anything on the books to truly hold landlords accountable to remedy it. Many know how mold has a negative impact on individuals' health, such as asthma and upper respiratory issues in both adults and children. We know the bill gave us data that St. Louis has twice the number of children with asthma compared to the state. And so it's no surprise that this impact heightens. It is no surprise that this impact is heightened for specific demographics, community of color, and folks with low income. Christian, myself, and our organization, Homes for All STL, are in favor of this bill. We also did surveys of tenants' conditions, and out of 100 tenants, 26 of them had complaints of mold. So we support this bill and want to see the building inspector do a better job of correcting and finding the problem before it becomes mold. And we think this bill is a great step. Thank you.
Thank you. Gretchen, did you speak or did I miss you?
I spoke on the previous bill, but I'd like to speak on 223 as well, if that's possible.
That's fine. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning again. I'm glad to be here to support Bill 223, which protects residents from mold. As climate change continues to ravage our planet, extreme weather events ensure that we will see more mold, mildew, and other indoor pollutants. As our city and housing stock age, we need to invest in appropriate, safe housing for all of our residents. Mold impacts indoor air quality, can cause headaches, breathing issues, and severe allergic reactions. Resolving these issues can be time-consuming, but I'm hopeful that this bill will encourage landlords to actively prevent mold. And many of the solutions that would prevent mold also improve a building's energy efficiency, which benefits the planet and our billfolds. I am grateful to Alderwoman Schweitzer for introducing this bill and calling attention to this environmental injustice. And I'm also grateful that the bill calls attention to the disproportionate impact mold has on people of community in people of color in our community as we continue to address environmental racism in St. Louis. Sierra Club is glad to support this bill, and I urge you to vote yes.
Thank you. Okay, was that it?
No, we have Mr. Damon Sparks and Miss Linda Brayboy. We've been trying to move her over since the meetings began. She's not accepting to move over, so I'm not sure why.
So Kennard, somebody Kennard, I'm just seeing this.
Okay, there go Linda now. She's just joined.
Okay.
But right now we can go ahead with, I believe, Mr. Damon Sparks.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah.
Could you please
All
raise
right.
your right hand, Mr. Sparks? Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And would you do Linda also? Because I don't think we got her.
Miss Linda, are you on here? You here now?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, could you
It would
raise your
not
right
let
hand
me,
for me?
yes.
Okay.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much. Mr. Damon?
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Damon Starks. I live in the 11th Ward, and I'm with Action St. Louis with the We the Tenants campaign. I just want to let you know that I am here to support Board Bill 223 and Board Bill 226. I know the 226 bill was already passed through, but I used to work at a restoration company for 7 years. There's 7 years in water, fire, restoration, and 7 years in mold removal. The key word in that is removal. The only proper way to get rid of mold is to remove it. Now, the problem is by the time mold is detected by the renter, the mold has already ate through that portion of the wall and or ceiling. And it has been a myth for years that you treat mold with bleach. That is false, and in some cases will make it worse. So landlords and these corporations who own all of these properties would tell their tenants to treat mold with bleach, and that will make it worse. That is not a treatable, suitable thing to treat mold with. Now, with that being said, with St. Louis supposed to be a renter-friendly city with over 50% of the living spaces being renters, being held by renters, the bill is much needed. This bill is much needed on Board Bill 223. Now for Board Bill 226, I am in support of all rooms being in a rental space, being at a safe temperatures. We all know that St. Louis City can get very hot in the summer. We have elderly people who are not able to do as much living in some of these houses. St. Louis housing are old brick buildings that hold heat. And even at night, with the windows raised, that heat still radiate off of those bricks back into the homes, making it unsafe to sleep and dwell in, and just flat out uncomfortable. So I am here in support of Board Bill 223 and Board Bill 226, in which all rooms are safely at a safe temperature setting. I want to thank everyone who presented these bills. I thank y'all for hearing these bills out and bringing these issues to the forefront. Thank you, and y'all have a nice day.
Thank you. Ms. Linda?
Yes. Good morning, y'all. My name is Linda Broadboy, and I live in Ward 9. I'm testifying on behalf of Board Bill 223. And I just want to say that this bill should be passed for multiple reasons. I'm going to try to make my story fast. In October 2019, I moved into the Housing Authority unit, and knowingly, purposely, they moved me into 4490 West Pine. With known roofing problems, water, and mold damage since 2002, needing a new roof since then. In Unit 203, where I resided there, it's been an ongoing, continuous history of flooding, mold problems in that unit. Unaware in October 2019, when I moved in through December 2023, when I moved out, it's been a constant flooding and problems with that unit. I have 4 autoimmune compromised disease. I have postural tachycardia, orthostatic syndrome, and it's called POTS. I have vasovagal syncope. I have psoriatic arthritis disease, type 2 diabetes, and a host of other problems. The United States Department of Health and Human Services, CDC, they states autoimmune compromised people should not enter moldy buildings or help clean up mold. But here I am, or here I was, living, eating, breathing, sleeping in various types of mold in that unit for 4 years. And sleeping 4 inches away from a wall that contains most of the mold. I paid for a mold survey to be done in my unit because the St. Louis Housing Authority and who they had managing a property, Habitat Company, refused to do so. So I hired Thomas Alford he's an indoor environmental specialist with EnviroPro. He stated in his survey that he had found at least 10 spots where mold was prevalent in the walls and dampness or what have you. And he took 2 samples. These samples were analyzed by American Industrial Hygiene Association, which was accredited laboratory for analysis. They found, I believe it's pronounced Chaetium species of mold, and it's CHAETOMIUM. According to the National Institute of Health, NIH, Chaetium species of mold can be lethal. They also found, I believe it's pronounced Stachybotrys, STACHYBOTRYS species, and both of these are mycotoxin molds. And the causes of these molds have a plethora of illnesses, which I have had nearly every last one of them, and still going through this today. As of yesterday, my doctor told me. And it's an ongoing problem. You know, mold can cause death. And I was near death, I felt, until I asked to be moved out of there with an emergency Section 8 voucher, which they did comply later on. But in the meantime, before I asked for that, they redid the unit. They used sky blue. They redid the unit and it took them 10 months. I voluntarily moved out. 10 months later, I moved back in and it was still dampness the day that I moved back in, all the way up until the day I moved out, which is December of 2023. It was 5 inches of water in my bedroom, 3 inches going out to my hallway, and it was a host of water in the bathroom in inches in the closet about 3 feet. And when we had the flood back here, I believe it was July of 2022, I was in a 10-story building on 2. My building flooded beyond belief. It sounded like a waterfall in the building. And I cleaned up at least 300 plus units of 300 plus gallons of water that within the 8-day period at that time. And I was going through breast cancer at that time too. So I believe they probably caused breast cancer. I do not know that yet. But yes, that's my story. It's an ongoing problem. And I still haven't been rewarded monies back for them for my move and all that. They took care of some things, but I still need to show them a expense and losses report, which I will do. And that's my story. It's just too many people in the city of St. Louis are going through things. And a lot of times you hear about problem landlords, you know, maybe private landlords or what have you. But the city of St. Louis themselves have problem landlord with the St. Louis Housing Authority. Right now, today, that building over there is going through problems. They was in the newspaper in St. Louis Post-Dispatch back here last month on the 26th, where a tenant had made a report about all the mold in the building. And it's just not coming known. I knew it was known because I got an inspection done on mine. And it's double drywall in the whole building. It's hard to even tell in some cases because of the double drywall. And that's when I guess the other tenants started knowing problems was wrong with the building. But they knew problems was wrong with that building since 2002, that they needed a new roof. And it's just sad. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Bravo, for your testimony. I think next we have Ms. Spears.
Yes. So I'm here to talk about the mold. I am a tenant at Fountains at Carondelet. I've lived here for 6 years. I was in one unit before I transferred over here to this new unit, supposedly to upgrade. I've been here 4 years now, within the last 2 years, we've had 7 different management, new owners. It's actually the same owner, just under a different management company, which their name, the new one that they just sent me a letter for says new management. It's just another street name on this property. And I've had mold for the last year and a half. I've contacted them over and over and over again. And I've had several other problems that they said they were going to address, never addressed it. And then they sent me a letter just a week ago, dated it for February 22nd. They didn't deliver it till February 28th.
Ms. Spears, I'm not sure if you can hear us, but you are frozen. Chair Boyd, I'm not sure how you would like to handle it. I don't know if you want to move on or have her to go out and come back in. I'm not sure.
I'm turning it over to the vice chair because I have to leave. And so
I would, thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, or I would, we'll continue with someone else. If she comes back in, if she figures it out, then we'll resume her testimony after that. Would be the proper thing to do for everyone's time and respect here. So once she gets it figured out, we'll take her back.
Okay, I think we have one more. I'm not sure if Mr. Carnard, who spoke on Board Bill 226, is wanting to speak also on 223.
I would, yes.
All right, Mr. Kennard, please proceed.
Okay, already spoke earlier, Kennard Williams, Action St. Louis. The We the Tenants campaign has actually done a lot of work talking to residents around mold issues. I just wanted to give y'all like some numbers just to see where that kind of sits with the community. We have a housing report coming out soon. From that, we took a survey slice of over 150 renters, and of that, about 40% of those renters attested to having some sort of mold issue in their unit. You heard folks mention that St. Louis is about 50% renters already. But yeah, about 40% of people renting in St. Louis, from the folks that we had talked to, expressed some sort of issue with mold. Of that, about 62% of those had landlords that are LLCs. So this is like a serious problem, especially around like these LLCs and how they govern a lot of the properties being from out of state, out of the region, putting people who are citizens in the region in these sort of conditions, and then just kind of leaving until it's time to evict people after running up the rent. I also wanted to speak to some experience that we've had with supporting members over at Heritage House over in the 11th Ward. As many of you all may know, the Heritage House had pipes burst here in January. Residents there have been displaced since then, moving to different hotels around the city. Currently, the residents there cannot return back to the units in their building and won't be able to for well over a year because of the amount of mold that is spreading in that building. Currently, I heard you all say Sandstone was in the chat, which is the management company for that building. Those folks over there definitely need help. Again, like this sort of displacement that happens after a big issue like this displaces a lot of people. In this case, around 200 people were displaced just from the water alone, and they won't be able to return because of the mold. So I do want to lift up the need for the Board of Aldermen to take action against this mold legislation. In addition to that, come up with good solutions for the renters who are living in those places as well, seeing as how they have no choice but to live in these places most of the time because rent is rising at such an unaffordable rate. So yeah, I want to say all of that to express my support for this board bill around mold, and hope to see it advance further with the Board of Aldermen. Thank you.
Thank you. We have last, back to Ms. Michelle Spears. I'm sorry, Mr. Varmer, you were mute.
Oh. Thought I was off. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I saw Ms. Spears' face. Is she back with us?
Yes,
Okay, you still have a time on her. If when you find her, we can take it from there. Ms. Spears?
she was just here.
All right, then she'll be our last speaker of the day, Laura?
Yes, she would have been on this bill. Yes, sir.
Okay, and
And I'm
We
not
have,
showing.
excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm Fatima, also with Action St. Louis. We have one more person trying to get on. They're not sure, I think, how to press the raise hand function.
what is their name? Are they on the
Yes.
screen? Have we?
Is this Willie Ivy that just came in?
Yes.
Okay, is she? Do we have video and audio on Miss Ivy? Okay.
Miss Ivy, Miss Willie Ivy? I see your name, but we have to see your face. Swear you in.
Okay, Willie Ivy. Okay, thank you. If you could unmute, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Please
we're
raise
going
your right
to
hand.
swear you in. Listen to Aura, please.
Please raise your right hand, Mr. Ivy. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
But the truth, I do.
Thank you. You may proceed. You have 3 minutes.
All right, well, I don't really need 3 minutes, but at the end of it, I live at the crossing, Fountain Crossing Lead Apartment. I've been living here for a good 6 years since I have been here. Like the lady Miss Spears said, you know, it's been over a dozen new owners, a dozen new management companies. They basically don't let us know when they change over right away, so we'll be paying our rent under another online payment plan. Then they'll say they didn't get our rent. Then they'll be trying to put us out on whatever. I didn't see them put people out over $5. You know, trash is always, you know, everywhere on the ground outside. Our trash just got picked up like a good 2 weeks ago. It was just all over. The newscast came out to try to. For real, to tell you the truth, I'm on here trying to tell y'all everything about this, but nothing ain't gonna happen unless some powerful people do something about it. You know, I can be on here telling you all the problems all day, but if we don't have nobody that care about, you know, us like we need, then it ain't gonna be nothing done with it, you know. So I just talking all day. But at the end of it, like Ms. Spears said, they done switched companies a lot. And you know, nobody don't know if this building going up and down. I just paid my rent the other day, and the management company said they don't know where the owner's at. They can't find them. So they looking for them. I'm just saying there's just a lot of stuff going on over here that shouldn't be going on. And it's been happening for over 6 years since I've been here. Just no telling how long it's been happening before I came here. But I know when I first came here, it was a lot of stuff when it came to the owners and the people who was working, not getting paid and all that stuff. And they've been keeping money orders in little shoe boxes and not depositing it. It's been a lot of mess over here. So I don't know. But at the end of it, we appreciate whoever on this line that can help. You know, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, but at the end of it, I know if it is going on over here, it's going on all over St. Louis. So I mean, it's a lot of people that need someone to step up. And you know, if I was smart enough, I'd do it. But right now, I'm at a county court. But that's all I got to say. I mean, whoever on this line right now can help. You know, for us, you know, they right. It's mold in here. We do got kids over here. You know, there's a lot of people, a lot of vacos, a lot of crackheads. You know, a lot of needles. There's a lot of stuff that, you know, our kids can't even come outside and play and be safe. So I mean, that's the main thing, wanting our kids to be safe and, you know, having a place to stay that's presentable enough for my $7-something hundred that I pay a month.
All right, Mr. Ivy, you did it. You have 5 seconds to spare. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right. All right. Or do we have anyone else?
That's everyone. I see a Fatima Kamara. That's everyone that's speaking on Board Bill 223, correct?
That looks like it is, would the sponsor like to close on this for today?
Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone who came to speak. Your stories really lift up the importance of doing something about this and making sure that there is a dedicated path through city government, through the building division, to make sure that when there's mold present at hazardous levels, that there is a way for that to be mitigated, and it will result in safer living conditions for all of you. A lot of your stories really spoke with me. Some of them are stories about properties in my own ward, and there's so much that can be done through the city and through legal action. But at the end of the day, that doesn't change the fact that sometimes, if there's not another place to go, or if the landlord's not putting you somewhere safe, people are sitting in these situations, and it's really urgent. So I hope that you feel heard today, and that you know that your voices are so important to lift up these stories and the reality, not just the stories, but the reality of what it means when people are living with mold. So anyone is always welcome to reach out to me, especially if you spoke as a resident of Ward 1. I'm working on some of those things that you brought up. So my email address is my last name, first initial, Schweitzer A at stlewis-mo.gov. Reach out anytime, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the additional time for a public comment. That was very important and very, very appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sure Madam Chair appreciates that, and Mr. Vice Chair appreciates it also.
I'm calling you
All
Madam
right.
Chair from now on.
Okay, with that, we will conclude discussion on Board Bill 223. We have passed out 226 and 164. Any resolutions for review? Say that quick 3 times this morning.
We have none.
Okay, item 6 is committee discussion, which no public comment will be taken. So those members of the public, if you like to leave and go about your day, you're welcome to, or you're welcome to stay for the excitement that we do here. At that point, line item number 1 is safe staffing levels and patient safety. Discussion be held from representing the nursing union and various health institutions about safe living and patient safety. So do we have those? Aura, or are there people?
Yes, yes, we have Miss Gail Werner. I think it's pronounced Weiner.
Warner.
Warner, sorry.
That's okay.
All right. So anyone, how many people do we have to speak for in regard to the
Gail
nurses?
Warner. We have Kelly Allen. I believe she's speaking as well.
Okay. Are those the only 2 speakers lined up? Well, if we have others, well,
We need to add Benjamin Christensen.
okay.
Yeah, and myself.
And Michael James.
Yeah.
Okay. Are those the four? Okay. Well, if we
Yes,
could,
ma'am.
we'll have Aura swear you in.
Could you please raise your right hand for me? Do you affirm that? Thank you. Do you affirm that the testimony? Go ahead, Mr. Christensen. You can raise it. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank
Yes.
you. So we're going to start off with Ms. Warner, correct?
I'm going to be the ending
Okay.
speaker.
Okay. Is there any order
MJ.
you like? Is there any order you'd like to go in this one? You seem to be in charge here, so you give us the order, and we'll go that way.
And I think Michael James has a deadline that he needs to meet. So if he could please speak first, that would probably be helpful.
Okay, and we are still doing a 3-minute, as far as you're speaking, and believe me, 3 minutes can be a long time.
Okay. Thank you so much. I will do my best and try and keep this as brief as I can. I've prepared a statement for you. So my name's Michael James Block. I'm a nurse in the emergency department at SLU. I'm a new grad. I've been a nurse for about 14 months now, and I've seen a lot of things in my time. So I'd like to challenge you all to take a second and list in your head the most important tasks you think a nurse like myself does in my day. I'm willing to bet most of you didn't come up with discharge teaching, but I'm here to tell you that this is an essential duty of the job. On the ED, we're in the business of mitigating health emergencies, but we're often not the ones that are there healing people. This actual healing and mending is something that occurs after we stabilize the patient and send them home. And this is where discharge teaching comes in. Discharge teaching is the bridge between the hospital and the patient getting well. It's when I come into the room with a big green folder that outlines things like what doctors to follow up with, what medications to take, how to take them, foods to avoid, and it will guide them on their journey back to health. And in a patient population such as ours, with low levels of both health literacy and regular literacy, it's important that I not just hand them this paperwork, that I go through, but that I go through it with them, that I ensure they understand it, that I answer any questions that they have, so I can be sure that my patient will be capable of caring for themselves when they go home. Or at least this is how it's supposed to happen. Now, it's no small secret that we're currently in a staffing crisis at SLU, and that as a result of this crisis, nurses like me are constantly asked to do the work of multiple nurses while only being given the time of one. Now, contrary to what you may have heard, this crisis isn't born out of a lack of nurses. It is instead born out of a lack of nurse retention. To give you some statistics that back that up, SLU has hired over 1,700 nurses since 2020. In that same time period, they've lost 1,400 nurses. It's a matter of nurse retention. Now, despite our multiple strikes, pickets, media campaigns, we're still far from settling a contract that adequately addresses that crisis by creating working conditions that value and retain nurses. Instead, every shift I work, I am forced to ration my care and choose which one of the essential tasks I need to accomplish for my patients will go uncompleted. Now, it pains me to say that in the face of more time-critical needs like oxygen administration or life-saving medication passing, it's discharge teaching that often ends up on the chopping block. And while it might seem innocent, this lack of discharge teaching has serious implications for our patients. In this past month, I've had 2 patients who had previously been diagnosed with hypertension, more commonly called high blood pressure, arrive in my care with life-altering complications. Hypertension is a manageable condition that is typically easily treated with strict medication adherence. At the same time, it's referred to as the silent killer because if left untreated, it can wreak havoc on the vessels in your body without you feeling the damage occur until it's too late to correct. While grave, these are points I always ensure my hypertensive patients understand when doing my discharge teaching, as it is critical for the successful management of their illness. Now, of these 2 patients that had previously been diagnosed with hypertension, one had developed heart failure, and his heart was now only capable of pumping at 25% of his former capacity. The other had arrived in near total kidney failure and had to have emergency dialysis. What stood out to me is that both of these patients had been previously seen for high blood pressure and were discharged with medication to manage it. When I asked what had stopped them from taking their medications, they both had the same response. I stopped taking the medication when I felt better because I didn't realize how serious it was. They hadn't been given their discharge teaching. These patients' lives are now forever changed. One of them will feel like he is climbing a mountain every time he takes the stairs for the rest of his life. The other will have to spend 12 hours of every week hooked to a machine that mechanically filters his blood simply to be able to live. When nurses are forced to make impossible decisions on rationing patient care, patients are forced to deal with dreadful consequences. So I implore you, please help us in getting a contract that addresses this staffing crisis. Help us earn market competitive wages, workplace safety protections, and safe staffing levels. Help us end this union busting and drawn out bargaining process that SLU is carrying out so that I can get back to the work of doing what I am called to do, giving my patients the care that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're a little past time, but thank you for your testimony. Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Weiner, who will we is up next on your parade?
Benjamin?
All right, you want me to speak? Okay. So I want to piggyback off of what Michael Block was saying. My name is Ben. I'm a nurse. I've been living in Ward 9, I think, going on 7 years now. I work at SLU currently, but I also previously worked at Barnes Jewish Hospital. I've been a nurse 3 years, and so since I know that's relevant to St. Louis, I don't mind talking about my experience from both of those. I graduated at the middle of the pandemic. It affected the last year of my nursing school experience where all of my clinicals were canceled for me, which is where our nurses are expected to crystallize everything that they learn from their lectures in school. And so I graduated in the middle of a staffing crisis like what Michael was describing, where nurses were quitting left and right because this wasn't the field that they were trained in. They weren't being given the experience or the resources they needed to do their job safely. Many of the older, more experienced nurses were tired or noticed the threat to their license, and so they decided to retire early, leaving the units like med-surg to be inherited by people like me without having anyone they could turn to rely on for education on safe clinical experience or what makes for good rational clinical decision making. One statistic, it's not a true statistic, but it's the experienced answer that every nurse hears in nursing school, and these older nurses who are here can verify this for you, is that nursing school only teaches you the 20% of nursing that you need to know to not get somebody killed on your first day. The other 80% is something you learn on the job. But because I graduated and was being asked to wear multiple hats very early in my career without even safely learning how to be a nurse first, frequently I had only been practicing independently as a nurse for 2 months when I was asked to be the charge nurse on my unit without any training on how to be a charge nurse. It was only because everybody else on my shift had quit. And so the only nurses there that evening were travel nurses, nurses who were floated to my unit to make up for the difference, and a graduate nurse who had not yet even passed the license exam, who was also being asked to practice on her own for the first time. As well as that, because it was early July, all of the doctors were brand new doctors. The doctor who was on call for the night had been a doctor for 3 days. I found myself with 2 months of experience being the most experienced person on the unit. And a doctor approached me in the middle of my shift saying, "My patient has new onset wheezing. She's having trouble breathing. Do you know how to call respiratory therapy?" Asked him to come by for an albuterol inhalant. And thank God I did. I don't know how I did, but by the grace of the lack of experience that I had, I actually didn't know how to do that. But so many times I was presented with situations like what Michael was saying about lack of care, rationing care, triaging care, in such dangerous situations that people got hurt anyway. That patient ended up getting her breathing treatment, but by the end of my shift, somebody who had been crying out in pain all night turned out to be having melena, excreting melena all night, and was shipped immediately off to the ICU for something nobody on my shift had the time to go check on, because I can't even get into that right now. It was dangerous and scary, and I would love to spend all night talking about it with you. But one thing, because we were so frequently surrounded by people who we were working in situations through which the field had never experienced, I was being asked to make decisions that were so dangerous for my license. I can think of 3 separate times somebody asked me to give a blood transfusion without a second clinician to verify it. For those of you who don't know, if a blood product is improperly transfused due to being matched improperly from the donor for the recipient, the patient receiving the blood will go into anaphylactic shock within minutes, even if they were stable and making an otherwise healthy recovery. Anaphylactic shock is a very simple mistake to make, very easy to prevent, and very, very fatal if not taken seriously. But because I can think of 3 separate times I experienced other nurses trying to pressure me into giving a blood transfusion without a clinician to verify the accuracy and appropriateness of the blood to be transfused compared to the patient's blood type. I mean, one of them was my assistant nurse manager, somebody who absolutely knew better than to ask me to practice against my license like that. And one of them was, on a later event, was my charge nurse for that shift. And then the third one was somebody who had years of experience working in an ICU. And all 3 of those people told me that I was wasting their time and that I should just trust the blood bank because nobody had time to just get up and double check if I was transfusing the appropriate blood type for the patient's recorded blood type.
Okay, we'll have to wrap it up there, sir. Thank you.
Of course. So the truth of the matter is I could talk for hours, and I would love to if one of you would love to have me.
right.
Unfortunately, I don't have that time, so I would love to just implore you, please understand, people do die for these mistakes, for these for the too many hats that I have to wear, and for the that we're asked to. Okay.
We understand, sir, and thank you for your time and your passion.
Of course.
Thank you very much. All right, and I guess Miss Allen will be next. Please unmute. Oh, you're still mute. There you go. Okay, now you're okay.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Allen, as you can see. I've been a nurse for 39 years. I've been at SLU for almost 16 years. I'm here to give testimony because I want the board to be aware of the health care that their constituents are receiving in our facility. I'm currently working on a cardiac thoracic step-down unit. And as you know, at SLU, we take care of patients that are sicker because of the type of care we deliver, are capable of delivering, and because of our geographic location. Because our patients are typically sicker, they require more direct care at the bedside. I have a few scenarios I'd like to share with the board of the challenges we face every day. Just last week, I was a relief charge nurse and had 2 nurses that had to take step-down patients. They were not trained to take step-down patients. These patients had IV medicines that required close vital sign monitoring, which neither nurse had initiated. I had to show them how to set the bedside monitors for frequent monitoring. I've also had several nurses incapable of reading their own telemetry on a heart floor or being able to identify lethal rhythms of their heart. Vital teaching gets missed, like MJ shared. Just this past Monday, a patient family called the floor I was working on and asked how to do a tube feeding. It was not going in, although it was flush, the family member said. After several minutes, another nurse suggested that they use YouTube as a resource. So a questionable person on YouTube that we can't verify has the knowledge or the license is now teaching patient education on YouTube. We need core nurses that are trained and dedicated to SLU. In the past week, we received 2 patients that were housed in the ER for 2 days before they could get a bed on the floor. This creates a stressful situation for our ED nurses. We have people with extended waiting times, and the ED nurses are expected to take care of not only floor patients, but whatever patients come in with emergent situations. MRI is now open at night. However, there's only 1 person in the department. So in order to maintain safety in case there is a code situation, another member of the staff must accompany them. MRIs usually last about an hour. So we did 3 the other night. So we had staff members off the floor for 3 hours, making us even shorter. And if the patient has certain treatments like blood transfusions and chest tubes, that is the nurse that must be off the floor and away from her patients. And then the other nurses are now doubled up taking care of the patients that they have left behind. SLU management was not available to bargain until the 13th of this month. Then they tell staff that the union is delaying negotiations. SSM also knows they are not market competitive. We cannot attract and retain core staff. That the moral distress this creates for staff at the bedside is driving nurses away. Who wants to go home worried about the job they did or come into work knowing SSM does not value commitment to those we serve? Our city residents deserve high quality, compassionate care. I'm glad that the Board of Aldermen is concerned about the healthcare delivery for the constituents, and I thank you for hearing my testimony today.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Hell. Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Warner, you're here to wrap everything up for us.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you so much for taking time to hear us this morning. My statement was developed after a general membership meeting and will reflect stories and concerns that were expressed by many, many nurses. So please hear not only my voice, but the many nurses who spoke at that meeting. And I'm going to be focusing on the perception of discrepancy between mission statement and value statement and performance by SSM. Thank you again for hearing us. The ongoing delays in finalizing our contract due to SSM's avoidance of topics such as safe staffing and permanent nurse retention caused me to reflect on SSM's mission statement. And that statement is, through our exceptional healthcare services, we reveal the healing presence of God. How can there possibly be exceptional healthcare without nurses who are committed to this hospital and the community we serve? We know that we, the union nurses, are the linchpin for the success of the SSM mission. And we need a contract. We need a contract that attracts and retains permanent nurses and adequately values us. We join with SSM in adhering to the value of stewardship of funds, but a contract that is primarily founded on only one of our 5 values is not just, nor adequate, and lacks integrity. Are not the other 4 values equally important? Community, excellence, compassion, respect. How is the value of community upheld by SSM when yesterday 3 of the units at SLU were staffed with all transient workers? The temporary nurses do the best they can, and we appreciate them, but they are not invested in this community. How much value is placed on community when a new graduate nurse is working on a unit with no permanent nursing staff? Where is the SLU community that will ensure her safe passage to a successful long-term career at this hospital in our city? Where is the value of excellence when an extraordinarily capable nurse is given a 10-patient assignment and on top of that doesn't have the equipment she needs? Where is excellence when a critically ill patient must be held in the ED because the ICU is not staffed to take even one more patient? How much importance is given to compassion when a patient must wait over 2 hours for a pain med because the nurses are spread so thin? Where is compassion when SSM administration ignores the moral distress endured by their nurses due to this unsafe staffing? How much value is placed on respect when SSM intentionally prolonged our contract negotiations by engaging in efforts to wear us down and dismantle our union? Where is respect when SSM fails to invest in permanent nursing staff? Where is respect when statements on a flyer, another one that just came out today with propaganda, when these statements on a flyer say how we are valued, but that does not result in contractual agreement? We need a contract that upholds all 5 values that SSM espouses. We need a contract that aligns with the SSM mission and the Founding Sisters vision. We deserve integrity from our employer, and we need a contract that is developed and delivered with that integrity. And thank you so much for hearing us out. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very so much. All right, with all the input from the nursing union, I appreciate all that. Thank you very much. If there's any members of the committee have anything to espouse, we will go through that. We have Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much to everyone who's here to talk about this incredibly important issue. Nurse staffing is something that's very close to my heart. My little brother is a nurse at BJC, and I hope he wouldn't mind me saying this, but he's spoken about staff shortage levels to me at BJC as well. So I understand the toll it takes from a personal level on you. And when you're trying to do the best possible job you can, and you got into this profession to help people to make them better, and feeling like you're stretched so thin that you can't possibly do your job and you're not provided with what you need to do your job, it's an impossible place to be in. So I really feel for all of you personally, and understand, from hearing it within my own family, what it can do. So I just want to say thank you for your chosen profession and what you're doing. It's such an important profession. I've stood on picket lines with you already. I'm happy to do so again. Please let me know what you need anytime. I will be there if I can, and I appreciate all you do. And thank you for showing up today to talk about it in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Saulnier, any comments?
Just, my mom is a nurse, has been for all my life. I am just so sad and really disappointed in some of the decision making. I think one thing that the Board of Aldermen has tried to do is really stand with our workers and really use our positions however we can to advocate for all of our workers, and especially those who we just got done saying were essential, to get the essential pay and the essential benefits and the essential staffing levels and all the things that you all need to feel essential. So this is like really sad to me, and it's also a time that makes me think about some of the failures of our state legislature, because there's only so much, you know, that we can do at the municipal level. So I just want you all to know that there are people who do care, that this issue is very close to myself. And I know many other colleagues. I filed a resolution a while back when you guys were first beginning to do your negotiations and having those conversations, and hope that that would supply some things. And so just want to make sure, however I can be helpful moving forward, if it's more picket lines with Alderwoman Schweitzer, if it's, you know, whatever is necessary, even if it's just continue to tell the truth, and just make sure I acknowledge you all's courage, because I know it's not easy to speak up and hold your employer accountable. But I respect what you're doing. That's in your interest and in the best interest of your patients. And so just thank you all so much for your service and your work. And I certainly hope that you all do prevail and get what you deserve.
Thank you, Alderwoman. All right, and actually, at my age, I've needed your services many times in my life. Actually, it'll be my 10-year anniversary of open heart surgery came up here in May. So it's, yeah, so we are compelled by your testimony, and we will do what we can to see you through this. And we thank you for your time and all your passion and your service. So thank you for coming before us today. We appreciate it very, very much. At this point, we will have to move on to line item 7. And thank you for your time. You're welcome to leave at this point if you like. We're just going to do some rudimentary things to finish the meeting up. Corey, do we have any written testimony on anything we've spoken with today?
We did. We had several written testimonies in support of Board Bill 226 and 223,
Okay.
and of which they also were here to speak.
Okay, wonderful. So those will be in the record.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Any announcements? Any members of the board, or we have any announcements for the committee?
I show no announcements, but
All
anyone
right.
else?
Okay, we'll excuse Alderman from the 12th for necessary absence. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Did you say something, Ms. Sanye?
Oh, I was just saying my announcement is that I think this is our longest meeting yet, but
Oh.
That's not an announcement, that's just a fact.
I move to adjourn.
Did we have any excused members? We had.
I did excuse, maybe you missed me. I excuse you all from the 12th for necessary absence.
Thank you.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Here in previous role, no objection. The goose says we may adjourn.